Hello everybody, my name is Courtney Monaco and I will be talking to you about job burnout from chapter 10 of our textbook. Job burnout can be defined as a result of prolonged exposure to work stress that leads an individual to become less involved in their work organization. Things that can cause individuals to burn out might be things like unresolved interpersonal conflicts at work, a lack of clearly defined duties at work, work overload, a lack of reward, and being punished unreasonably in the workplace. There are 3 phases of burnout. Emotional exhaustion brought on by extreme demands on the individual. So again, if there's a ton of work overload and there's interpersonal conflict, the individual can become emotionally exhausted. Depersonalization, separating oneself from people at work, becoming cynical and cold. That's really just separating yourself from your coworkers, your supervisors, your customers. You're not interacting with them in the way that you should be. Low personal accomplishment, that's the last phase. A sense of frustration, feeling as though one's efforts are pointless. So they're really feeling helpless at this point, feeling as though their efforts at work there's no reason for them. So for the real life work problem, I'm going to talk a little bit about my position at a retail store called Anthropologie. When I first started there, I loved my job, I loved my coworkers, and I always felt motivated every day that I went to work, and I really wanted to make a difference. After a year, I felt very qualified. I was constantly receiving praise from my supervisors and my managers, and I felt that that meant I was ready for a promotion, and I began to pursue it, and I took the next steps by asking my manager. There were 2 other girls who also were kind of in the same position as me, and we were all under the impression that we would be moved up soon. I spoke to my manager, and unfortunately she decided to only go with the 2 other girls for the promotion. I was disappointed, but I decided instead of being upset, I would work harder and try my best to stay focused, even though I did have to watch others excel, which was kind of discouraging and became a little bit emotionally exhausting, but I decided to push through. A couple months later, I met with my manager again, but unfortunately this time I felt even more disrespected because she denied me the promotion again and gave me reasons for why I wasn't being promoted that were inaccurate and I believe to be really unfair as an evaluation of my work ethic. Ultimately, I resigned due to job stress, which led me to burnout. Textbooks, research, and the surveys in the next slide. Research from the textbook suggests that job burnout is very common in human service professions in which the core task of the profession is to help others. This can look like a healthcare professional, like a nurse or a counselor, also professions like teachers, police officers, and social workers, to name a few. An example of teacher burnout can look like this. They become insensitive to their students, they inadequately prepare their lesson plans, they get highly irritated with their students, even when they're just doing things that kids would do, like interrupt or act out. They get really irritated, and they really just feel helpless and that they can no longer make an impact on their students' lives, which is really sad. The Maslach Burnout Inventory was the survey I was speaking of. This instrument assesses the 3 hypothesized components of burnout that I talked about in slide 2, emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and low personal accomplishment. The sample that was given in our textbook was a survey for individuals in the helping professions, and they were asked to rate on a 0 to 6 scale, 0 meaning that they never felt this way, 6 meaning that they always felt this way every day. Based on how they felt at work. An example of one of those statements that assess personal accomplishment might say something like, I feel I'm positively influencing others' lives through my work. If they never felt this way, 0. If they felt this way every day, they would rate it a 6. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so the journal article that I chose, the research question that they assessed was how do self-core evaluations influence job burnout? And additionally, how does organizational commitment and job satisfaction play into that as well? It was a correlational research design. I listed the predictor and criterion variables below. And the findings were ultimately that job satisfaction and organizational commitment influence the effect of core self-evaluations on job burnout, CSE abbreviated. Higher self-evaluations lead to higher work enthusiasm and achievement at work for individuals. Individuals with high CSE view their work and their colleagues in a more positive way, and thus they have higher organizational loyalty. And then ultimately they just suggested to reduce job burnout, it's recommended to focus on cultivating positive CSE, organizational commitment, and work satisfaction. Finally, the solution to my real-life work problem that I talked about earlier. According to the textbook, a phase of the burnout that I experienced personally was depersonalization and a low personal accomplishment because I was treated unfairly by my manager and I felt really discouraged. A solution to this issue could be for my manager and supervisors to work towards cultivating a work environment in which communication was constant and they were more supportive of all of their employees equally, including myself. The journal article I read suggested to reduce burnout, it's essential to focus on making sure your employees have positive core self-evaluation, strong organizational commitment, and work satisfaction. A solution could have been implemented at my previous job would be to check in with the employees and make sure they are satisfied with their position, to tell them what they're doing well so that their self-evaluations can improve, and to ultimately strengthen their organizational commitment to the company by doing these check-ins and really showing them that they care. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good rest of your quarter.